own arms in the first place. Second, the second point that we've heard from Team Proposition is about government police, but right one, yes ma'am.
Ma'am, on your side of the house, your criminals will still have black market guns, but your side wants to remove policemen and citizens who are responsible individuals of the state of any charge of defending themselves. Do you expect them to defend themselves with violence?
Okay, two sets of reputations against that, right? Firstly, they told us that regulation and Team Proposition itself is possible about making sure that everyone, making sure that people who own guns themselves tonight, this is the same thing can happen in Team Proposition. If it's a regulation of people misusing, abusing, and a black market is a problem, Team Proposition can simply say that regulation can also happen in that area too. But secondly, what they're saying is that simply they need to have self-defense against people that own guns, right? We think the reason why people own guns in the status quo, especially in America, is because there's a market that allows for guns to be prolific. So then why are we increasing more guns in society? Why are we allowing this black market to be even more sufficient? We think by saying that guns itself is not allowed in the status quo, that the government prohibits the use of guns, that the black market, even if they are prevalent, will have less access to guns in the first place, right? Because if the government says that these things are not allowed, even the black market itself will have less shortage. Because what we see is that the reason why there's a misuse and abuse, criminals getting these guns, itself is because there are guns in the first place in the country. If they don't allow them in the first place, we don't think their whole problem of misuse and abuse is even possible. So in general, let's look at the second point that we've heard from Team Proposition about how not even these people have a sufficient government policing system, right? We think we already sufficiently rebutted to this point, the second speaker and the first speaker and the second speaker, right? We think government police can happen with the government more funding, more regulation, but that itself cannot be solved by putting in more guns. And therefore, because they did, Team Proposition failed to rebut to the point that the government has a duty to protect, which is a third argument completely dropped by Team Proposition. We think that opposition is the side that stands for government duty. Thank you.
The speaker has spoken for 8 minutes and 18 seconds, 818. I thank the third opposition speaker and now would like to invite the opposition to high speaker.
Uncle Sam doesn't give out a firearm to every American citizen as a present for coming of age. In the same way, ladies and gentlemen, in all countries where guns are legalized to some extent, there are very heavy regulations and there are restrictions on who can or cannot own a gun. This has been consistently established in our free speeches, and I will reiterate once again that guns are not arbitrary products and they're not granted to individuals who have not proven themselves. Therefore, the prevalence of gun crime today is an established issue that I believe that the adjudicators are more well aware of. In this case, can we only assume that there is no other problem other than guns, ladies and gentlemen? Opposition believes that if there is a tool in which crime is made easier, in which will facilitate violence, a point that they do not address very thoroughly, then we believe that we should take away that weapon. So far, Team Malaysia has been debating the motion, this House would arm the victim. If the perpetrator is undoubtedly armed, opposition would also arm the victim. This debate would thus be meaningless. However, they correctly identified that everybody in society is a potential victim. Opposition said that in the same way, everybody in society is a potential criminal. We can't take away all the potential victims, can we? If we have to take away that weapon that causes society to become unstable, then opposition would rather take away the criminal here, ladies and gentlemen. Today, you will be asked to decide whether the harms from the failure of government should be compensated by a solution that will endanger more innocent lives. We have proven this point by saying that most heinous crimes in countries where guns are legalized have been perpetrated by these very weapons. They are saying that people should be forced to live under a fear of getting killed by an accidental shooting incident because the government failed its duty. They have said that the government has to outsource its duty to security when it is incapable. Opposition has never denied that the government may have to outsource its duty to individuals. But on security, opposition has firmly established that when there are no guns in the first place, there is no need for the government to outsource very dangerously its responsibility for civilian security. In our second argument, we have correctly established that the government has the responsibility for protection, and failing to do so is government failure, not something that the civilian can take care of. They have given the examples of Japan, which we have agreed to, and we found very interesting that the proposition was the first to bring up them. They have given us examples of very secure countries that are secure because of the absence of these firearms. One question that Team Malaysia asked very frequently is will criminals be bent on taking another person's life when they know that other people have firearms? We just have to look at the countries where open carry and concealed carry are legalized, not mandated. In those cases where there's a possibility that another person already has a gun in the bag, do crimes already happen? And the answer to that question is yes. These criminals, these people bent on killing people are not going to be stopped by the prospect that another person may have the gun that will deter them from making that violence. Ultimately, crimes do happen, and that is the reality that we have to face. Team Malaysia has to bite the bullet. Also, we need to ask the question, are all crimes premeditated or are they impulsive? They proved that point for us. They already identified that 67% of all crimes, all heinous crimes, are impulsive, ladies and gentlemen. Our first argument already tells you, which they didn't rebut either, that crimes can be impulsive and therefore cannot be determined by these checks that they're doing, even if they happen at random intervals, as Team Malaysia designed. Finally, if everyone had guns, would it be a safer society? Unfortunately, opposition cannot present to you on the table any society where gun ownership is mandated, where every single citizen has guns. But we can give you the example in which gun ownership is very prevalent and happens. Both sides have given you that example. On the other spectrum, we have given you the example where gun ownership is abjectly denied and the black market is regulated. When the government should not release black market products simply because of the existence of the black market, which option will the adjudicators choose? A gunless society or a fully armed society? That is your decision to make. Opposition would rather choose a society in which there is no possibility for perpetuation and where every possibility of harm imposed on others is eliminated by the government. Because at the end of the day, that is the government's duty, to eliminate possibilities of risk. And that is the duty of policemen, not individuals. Thank you.
Speaker has spoken for 4 minutes and 5 seconds, 4:05. I thank the opposition replied and now would like to invite proposition reply speaker to host the debate.
We see a tension in their case because on one hand they wanted to protect civilians at the best optimum level possible, but they wanted to do it the most ineffective method of protection using a hockey stick. In these circumstances, these individuals have a shift in their case. These are the side that shifted their case because when the whip came out and told us, and we questioned them, what about individuals who are like police officers who have the potential of abusing that right that's been given to them to begin with? What about those individuals? She wanted to remove that right to bear arms for police officers as well as civilians. That means the government wants to protect individuals without having a method to do it to begin with. We think that on both sides, we still have criminals having guns in the black market. We still have criminals killing people with those guns with severe methods of murder. On our side, we have a method to counter that dangerous crime. They have a method to counter the dangerous problem we think doesn't happen. It is this house who are a victim because any civilian could be a victim. We want them to be able to prevent them from becoming victims. What did we talk about? And what are the two questions that asked? Number one, will individuals abuse this right given to them? But number two, what are the government's responsibilities and how far does it extend to? The first question, will people abuse it to begin with? Because firstly, they had attention in their case. They told us, oh no, Japan is the best security and so on and so forth. Precisely, Japan has great security because they legitimized the use of guns in 2009. That's why I gave the example of a 29% decrease of the crimes existing in Japan because of the legitimizing of the usage of the gun. But the second response is that we already provided to you because that's an argument against regulation. So the question is, if we can regulate and give these guns the most optimal people possible, are we then okay against it? Because they told us US, oh no, they're dangerous, US is the method. We're not employing the US method. We're having more frequent checkups, we're having more frequent background checkups before we even accord this license to these individuals. We don't have to do it. But thirdly, most importantly, they told us abuse. Similar to that, we have sufficient deterrent effects for individuals who want to commit a crime. That's why we don't see many gun shootings out there, especially for those who have crime, because they have a deterrent effect from going into jail. They don't want to go and suffer in prison. But then I told us, sure, our model is strict, but it's not unreasonable. Many people can get it. If you're an average reasonable person that has the intention of protecting yourself from a criminal, we will accord this to you. And we have multiple tests to determine whether you are that person. If you are that person, we will give it to you. If you are not that person, we will not give it to you. Similar to how we give other things in society, similar to that. But secondly, what are government responsibilities? Because government's primary objective is to ensure safety. We don't see how safety can happen when a criminal has better weapon leverage over the government as well as the people in these circumstances. We don't think safety can be properly delivered. But secondly, they wanted to combat the black market precisely with a method of better source for buying guns. It's the best way to combat black market. But then most importantly, the harsh truth is the criminals will always exist. People will always die. But how do we then reduce the probability of these things happening? Do we live on a side where guns don't exist for protection, or do we live on a side where guns exist as a method to defend yourself when someone is going to shoot you in these circumstances? Yes, 67% of crimes happen on spontaneous. That's because people look at you, they see you have a golden chain, I want to snatch that chain. Under your model, they don't have the time to go and call the police, that even if the police have guns, but our model, we have the ability for you to just take out your gun, shooting, and not get your chain stolen. What do you bring to you? We talk about why we have the rights. But secondly, most importantly, we talk about why specifically guns are an extension of the right to self-defense. Where you can stand your ground against a criminal, but this is the best method for you to do so. In those circumstances, a kitchen knife is not enough, a baseball bat is not enough to prevent you from dying. That's why you need a gun which is efficient, which is fast, which is something that you need. But we have told you that there's a leverage that criminals have in status quo over you, which is why we're going to balance out the leverage and deter individuals from committing crimes. They'll be less likely to commit crimes knowing that they could be stopped because there are more people out there having the ability to stop me as a criminal. More people can shoot me down when I want to rob a bank. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. But with regulation, those exact people will not become murderers, they become saviors. Thank you.
The speaker has spoken for more than 12 seconds. For one. The House would like to thank both sides of the House, and now please pause for and take